One Friday morning, Billy Hedgehog got out of bed and put on his shoes. Running out of paper and markers, he said quietly to himself as Sophie Cat laid in bed asleep. Sophie later awoke to find that her boyfriend and housemate had gone somewhere. She went out into the hallway and looked at the calendar. September 13th. Her lips parted into a smile as she grabbed her phone and tapped the contacts button. Hours later, Billy was dragging 2 full shopping bags up the garden path. That bus driver was a pain, he grumbled. You'd think he could have waited for me to sit down before taking off from Staples. He was so focused on his burden that he failed to notice that the front window shades were drawn. Therefore, the living room was pitch black when he entered. "Sophie?" he called. Fumbling for the light switch. Click. "Surprise!" cried Sophie and all his friends and neighbors. Sophie held a 2-layer cake with strawberries on a tray, and everyone else held either a wrap box or noisemakers. The jubilation dampened when they saw that their guest of honor wasn't smiling. In fact, he looked as though he had a rough day. "I thought the drug intervention was next week," he said after a long silence. "Drug intervention?" asked Sophie, dumbstruck. "But Billy..." "Whatever's going on," said Billy, eyeing her off. "I've no time for it." He walked right past his friends and neighbors, dragging the loaded shopping bags behind him to his office studio. "No see here, boyo," said Miranda, a little angry, as the door closed. "No, Miranda," said Sue Lynn. "He's obviously had a morning." Sophie," said Hiroshi Raccoon, "this is getting, Yeah, go home," said Sophie, taking the cake into the kitchen. "I'll talk to him later." And with that, everyone took off their potty hats and went out the front door, leaving behind the gifts and the noisemakers. The last to go were Sulin and El Fuerte, who crushed his party hat. Feliz cumpleaños, Hazel Billy, he said sadly. After everyone had left save for Itzy, Sophie sliced the birthday cake, served one piece to the spider, and took another to Billy. He was hunched over his art desk, working on a comic strip, as Sophie entered and placed the cake slice near the PC. We had this all planned for you, Billy, she said. What in blazes happened this morning? Why didn't you want to celebrate your birthday with our friends and neighbors? And what's this about a drug intervention? Billy got up from his chair and placed a hand on Sophie's shoulder. First of all, he said, I was having a string of misfortune in the shopping district, much of which is commonplace on Friday the 13th. Second, I forgot it's my birthday, as one does in his 40s. And thirdly, our neighbor down the road, Peter Rabbit, has become addicted to antidepressants, so I figured we'd invite him over for coffee and confront him with his problem. Incidentally, is everyone still here? I'd like to apologize for... Sophie hugged Billy and started crying. I sent everyone home, she confessed tearfully. At least Itzy is still here, said Billy, comforting her. He could hear the little spider eating the cake outside. I'll tell you what, though. He then added, we can make it up to everyone tomorrow at our D&D session. Instead of the usual campaign, we'll have a Middle Earth root beer kegger. Saturday evening, they did just that. A&W root beer floats were served all around in medieval pint mugs with straws, and everyone sang Tolkien folk ballads. It was a rousing success.